Hello Ramblers, hello YouTube, welcome to DevLog number 10. We've hit double digits now, and in this DevLog I will talk and show you the crime line view because I finally worked on that. And also I will show you some more character art from Marina that she did, mainly for, the dialogue view where the characters will slide in. I haven't implemented them yet, but I can show you the artwork. Sorry for the delay, especially sorry to our patrons. I think on YouTube we just won't notice. But yeah, as I wrote in the little announcement, I had to take Pixel to the vet. He's fine, he got his stitches removed, and afterwards we went on a little hike.
Wild boars. Pixel, they're here.
I think this is, the main perk of being self-employed or being your own boss in your own company. You can just, take your day off and, care for your pet or maybe your child or, a loved one. Of course, sometimes you have to work on the weekend, but it balances itself out, right? And you can decide that, and that's amazing. So if you ever think about, becoming self-employed, it is a lot of stress, but you also have this superpower. Other thing I may or may not do is adding subtitles in German to the YouTube videos. I'm not sure if you can do that on Patreon. Depends on how much work it is, because I know that my mom is following along our progress and her English isn't that good, which is fine. But for her to, to be able to understand what I do, or at least follow along what I say, I maybe will put in some subtitles. Yeah, unless it's too much work. So I will cut this part out and nobody tell my mom. So, next up, I will show you some artwork. And most of the characters I will show you, you already know them. Of course, we have Betty. And Verena did, a full body portrait, because before that we mainly had like upper body, torso, head. And now we have a full body for, putting her into the dialogue view. Then we have, of course, Enno, our, nemesis, maybe. I will have to see, because he's a little bit wider, because of, the cane, how that fits into the dialogue view, but I will figure it out. Then we have, of course, Mademoiselle Persephone. She's a writer, she's a poet. She always looks grumpy, but maybe she isn't. We will find out. This is Ruben. Ruben is an author as well, and I very much like this portrait of him. This full body with, the very comfy shoes and, just being casual. Next up, we have Felix. Felix is a bit of an upstart writer who follows Mademoiselle Persephone around and tries to learn from her, tries to learn the craft from her, and is, a big fan of her work. And then we have a newcomer, and I'm already in love with her and her character and the idea of her character. Her name is Teresa, and she is, a hopeless gossip. So in the game, she will have the role of providing the player information, but you don't know if this information is right or not. But it's something to keep in mind when you go ahead and solve the case. And then we have Beatrice. Beatrice is a publisher for authors, for writing work, and under her contract are Mademoiselle Persephone and Ruben. Beatrice is a businesswoman, and she's very much like no-nonsense beaver businesswoman. And then last but not least, we have Gertrude Pooch, the aunt of our main character. She's a salon hostess, And now we finally have, you know, a full body character model of her, and also a very fluffy outfit because she's a poodle, right? So this is the lineup for the demo we're working on for the prototype of Was It Poison. You will be able to romance any of them, not your aunt. So she is not romanceable. So yeah, let me know which of those do you like best already? Do you have a favorite? Okay, next up is the infamous timeline view, and I will jump into Godot. Okay, it's running. It's stable. So basically the idea of how you solve the crime is to establish the whereabouts of your suspect and your victim and what was the timeline of the murder. To do that, you have story blocks, building blocks that you collect by talking to characters, by collecting evidence, by viewing the scene. And all these story blocks will be collected here. So you will always have, you know, the basic ones, the suspect did or the suspect went, and the victim went and the victim did. You then can put them over into this very bare looking timeline. Similarly, you have, oh no, I broke it. Okay, sorry about that. Similarly, you have the story blocks that you collected by exploring, by talking to others. You basically have to puzzle out what happened, who did what, who maybe left a piece of evidence, you know, who ate a croissant. Is it Is it relevant to the case at all? Maybe not, but every story block you collect will be presented here. And what I did the last couple of weeks is, you know, designing this, coding it, and, you know, making the list audible. And basically I was figuring out what I want and what is important. I had a version of this in mind where you basically have to establish a timeline for all the characters, but I think that's too overwhelming. It's like too much information, too much trouble for what this game is and wants to be. So basically I simplified it. You don't have to, you know, establish the timeline for every person. It's like too much, especially for, you know, this kind of game, this type of game. And the information you gather about the other characters just helps you figure out who is the suspect, who did the murder, right? And you ideally select here who you think currently the suspect is. The victim, of course, is, you know, very obvious. You don't have to select that. And then you have to figure out a motive. So basically the way this goes is building up your theory. So these are the two things you need to solve the crime. You have this area up here where you put in your theory, your suspect, and why do you think they did it, their motive. And then here you put in the timeline of things. Apart from fixing the crime line view, I will try and start figuring out how the character view will look like. Character view is basically a lineup of all the characters you get to know inside the game and see their, you know, their conversation and stuff like this, like what you would expect from a dating sim and a visual novel. And also you can see the stats. And if you remember, in one of the first vlogs, I basically had a literature dump on the research material I worked through, and one I very much like is this book. It's called How to Avoid Falling in Love with a Jerk, The Foolproof Way to Follow Your Heart Without Losing Your Mind. It's by John von Epp, PhD. And he describes, among many other valuable things, a method or a model where you can evaluate you're forming romantic relationship. And that is the RAM model. This is what the RAM model looks like. It's the relationship attachment model. And you can see there are like those sliders and those categories, variables, whatever you want to call them. And very basic, it says if one slider is, at the top and another one isn't, there's an imbalance and you should try to fix it and reevaluate your relationship after that. So, for example, the sliders are labeled no, trust, rely, commit, and touch. And you can guess what they mean in a relationship. For example, if no knowledge is at the very top, you know a lot about the person that you're talking with, that you're currently dating. If you have like things like rely, you rely a lot on this relationship or each other. If things are out of balance, for example, the trust slider is at the very top and the no slider is at the very bottom, there is, a discrepancy, and you have to reevaluate, why do you trust this person so much, even though you know so little about them? Or if you have like commit, if you are very committed very early on in this relationship without knowing or trusting the other person, is that a healthy relationship? And should you work maybe on those other variables? Will this all happen in the next 2 weeks? Probably not, but it's, somewhere in the current timeline of creating this prototype and working on this project. Until then, I like to thank our patrons who support us over at patreon.com. If you like to, you can head over there as well and see what's up. Maybe you have, the resources to support us on a monthly basis as well. If not, it's totally fine. Most of the posts you can watch there as well. They are early access for patrons. So I would like to thank Gunnar, Thomas, Philip, Heaven's Revenge, Granador, Sven, Beatrice, Hauke, and Michael. Thank you so much for supporting us, and quite a long time as well. Thank you. And thank you all for watching, for following along on this game dev journey. And I will see you in 2 weeks if you like. So until then, have a good time and bye-bye.